Hey, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us in this webinar. We have the honor to host today Dr. Ilon Karavani, who will speak about expanding your clinic in challenging times, which we all can relate to right now, followed by Gidon, our Gidon, who will speak about social media at these special times that we are all facing. So again, Dr. Karavani, thank you for joining us, and you can begin.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. It's not the first time we are in challenging times, so we built some experience of the crisis of 2008. But first of all, now that we are all in lockdown, we must have some insights about our business and what we're doing. And we are basically, of all the other businesses that exist, we have four major reasons not to panic. First of all, beauty and anti-aging is of all times and cultures. So it's widespread, it's encrusted in our genes, in our behavior. It's even so for animals who beautify themselves every day. So there's nothing to be afraid of that it will disappear as a branch or collapse. It is like food. It's a primal need that we have. Secondly is beauty and anti-aging runs from birth till death. So that means when we get a patient in our clinic, he stays with us till the end of days. So we won't lose him in the middle of the course, or it's not a one-stop deal where we sell once and that's it. So we have our regular clients. Third of it, our branch is really built on competence, consistency, and trust, which means that these values that we build over the years or the decades, they will only intensify and stay. So there is no need for the customer or the client to move somewhere else. And he can't move somewhere else because everybody is on lockdown too. So there is no need to be afraid that they will go to the competition or that they will disappear. So we got a very, very stable market. And in this time of lockdown, of course, we can't do our regular stuff, but we can do other things that are equally important. So let's first understand the product, what we are selling, what we're doing, what is basically our business. And I came years ago across a book of a very good marketeer, Mark Stevens, who wrote a book, God is a Salesman, where he was wondering how the largest company in the world with the most revenue and turnover didn't have a product at all. There was nothing to be shipped, to be manufactured, to be delivered, nothing. So he looked at the situation and he said, well, what do people really buy in the biggest company in the world? So they buy an emotion, they buy a primal need. And when we look at examples of emotions, and we see Campari, for instance, giving us the emotion of Campari and Friends. This is an ad of many years ago. Some people can't remember it anymore. But Campari and Friends used to sell you the emotion of all the friends being with you when you buy a bottle of Campari. Of course, they didn't deliver their promises because you bought a bottle of Campari, the friends weren't there, you were only getting drunk and fat, and you didn't have the feeling of friendship. Facebook did it a lot better. He brought you virtual friends, but still friends on your Facebook, and it became a much bigger company. So imagine if one day we have a company that delivers us real friendship, okay? Now, what is beauty? Beauty is not getting a wrinkle away, because this lady comes from a tribe in Africa where putting a nasolabial scar is a mark of beauty, while we take the nasolabial fold away with injectables. So for two opposite features on the face, we call them beauty. So what do we really want? It's not the mark, but it's being loved, being accepted, being valued, being desired, and all these kind of things that are coming along with beauty. And when we look at it very carefully, we can resume it to three major feelings and emotions. We want a survival, we want procreation, and we want a better social ranking, which is basically the same needs that our dog would have. So I called it the 3 S's. We want to feel safe, we want to feel sexy, and we want to feel special. And this is what beauty is all about. When people are coming to our clinics to get their wrinkles away, they're not looking at the wrinkles at all. They don't care about the wrinkles, because in other places in the world, they just put scars for exactly the same reason: to feel safe, to feel sexy, and to feel special. So what is beauty? Bigger eyes, bigger lips, symmetry, a hip to waist ratio that is 0.69, a little bit childish features because we love children, and all these kind of things. And that results in 9 to 15% more income, mind you, 3 to 7 years longer life, more children, a better genetic partner. So no wonder that people want to have beauty as an asset to improve their life, and their 3 S's, which means feeling more safe, feeling more sexy, and climbing up the social ladder. Now, they want it to be natural. The fake ones, they don't have these perks and these advantages. They made studies conducted studies with chimpanzees, where they took the female chimpanzee and they groomed her up a little bit. All of a sudden, the male chimpanzees were fighting for this groomed up female chimpanzee. But once they started to make her a little bit more fake, put a little bit more makeup, a little bit more this and that, they sensed that something was wrong, and nobody was fighting for this female chimpanzee anymore. So we want to have things in a natural way so that we can trick a little bit the appearance of our genes, but not so much that it will feel fake. And when we look at 3 icons in the press and in the media, all 3 of them approximately 60 years old, and we see Gillian McKeith, which is a health guru, vegan, etc., and who does nothing at all. We got Nigella Lawson, who's a famous cook and who tries to do things naturally. And we got Meg Ryan, who went into Hispanic with a lot of injectables, etc. And we see that we don't want the 2 extremes. We don't want that fake appearance, and we don't want that ungroomed appearance either. So we want little things done naturally over the course of our life. So we shifted from correction to prevention. We shifted from reconstruction to regeneration of our own tissues. And we shifted from invasive to a more progressive attitude. Now, this changes the whole game, because all of a sudden, we are not anymore in the finite game of achieving a result like we did before with 1 lifting for a lifetime, but we are in an infinite game where people come to us on a regular basis, once every 2 weeks, once a month, once every 2 months. We have patients who come in once a week even to get themselves groomed in a natural way. The difference with a finite game, which we have a definite endpoint, very distinct, where you win something, or an infinite game where slowly and gradually you build a relationship like a marriage. This is the difference. Now let's look at the rules of an infinite game. Well, there are 5 major rules for an infinite game: a cause, a team, a rival, flexibility, and leadership. Let's look at them. When you start a clinic in an infinite game, you don't have an endpoint, but you need a cause. You need a just cause. Now, what we set for our clinic as a just cause is we want to make people as nice as possible so that they can enhance their social contacts and social integration and interaction between people. That's the end point of our game. In fact, when people ask me, what do? I tell them I try to make the skin invisible. I try to get the skin away of the equation so that 2 souls will interact instead of 2 skins. And this is the cause. Bringing people together by making their skin as pleasant as possible so that this won't be a barrier for their interaction. Building a trusting team. Take time, build a team around you. From your co-workers to your pharmacist, to the brand who delivers you the lasers and the goods, to community centers, to the press, etc. We have a lot of people to interact with in this business, and we need them to be trusting. Remove the non-trusting people out of your team and out of your connections. Emulate. Try to find a role model that you look up to, because we want to see something on the horizon. In an infinite game, the problem is that we don't see anything on the horizon because we don't compete with a real rival, like match, set, and over with it. No. So we need a role model to look up to. And one day you'll surpass the role model and you become the role model yourself. But have something to look up to. And be prepared for flexibility. The game is an infinite game. It's a lifelong game. Try to be flexible. When things change, change along. We have seen hair removal change dramatically from the ruby laser, where we had shot by shot, where we go now with the in movement, in motion situations. This changed the game completely. Don't wait to be the last one to change. Be even the first one if you see a good technique. Be even the first one to implement it, and have the courage to lead. Now we are in an economy that shifted from the gatherers and hunters to the farmers to the industrial revolution, and we are now in a connection economy. What does it mean, a connection economy? First of all, coordination. Nobody does a thing alone. It doesn't exist. At the time, Henry Ford, he did his car from A to Z alone. He even had sheeps to take the wool from the sheeps and to make the inner linings of his car. It doesn't exist today. We are more in the Toyota model, where they outsource things to other factories. So try to coordinate with other people. Build trust. This is very important. Trust has become an asset today. It has become your currency. We see that. Trusting website can sell products. Untrusting website, they don't sell anything. A trusted doctor is a name that circulates among people. Trust is a currency. Permission to market. What does it mean, permission to market? And you'll hear me saying it again and again in this presentation. That is, you can't harass people, take away their time, fight for their attention if they didn't give you a permission to do so. And to give you a permission to do so, you have to interest them with a product that suits them and with a mentality and a culture that is theirs. We'll talk about it a little bit later. In a connection economy, you have an exchange of ideas and new values. That means you go to congresses, to webinars like these, etc., and you exchange ideas and values, because you have to construct your product out of new ideas, new values, and coordinate with other people. Be generous. Be generous. People don't want to deal with stingy people, with ungenerous people. It's a market where we share, and a sharing economy is an economy of generosity. Sharing a car doesn't mean you hold it for yourself. Sharing an Airbnb doesn't mean the apartment is only yours. And then be an artist, be original, be a rebel. Change the status quo. We see that people who change the status quo, they build a crowd around them much quicker than those who follow the rules. Now, understand branding. Now, branding has its origin in the fact that you branded your cattle or you branded your products just because people asked you, please give us a sign that this product is yours. We don't want to have this of the competition, so we want to be sure that it's your product. So the demand for branding came actually from the consumer. He said, I want to have a product that I'm sure of where the origin comes from. Imagine you got an iPhone and you don't see the logo of iPhone, or it looks fake. You want to have a serial number. You want to have something to rely on to be sure that the quality is there. So branding is what? Branding is finally the perception that people have of what to expect from you. When you buy an Apple or an iPhone, when you buy a certain car, it's very important that for the people that they know what to expect of what they're buying. So this is the brand. This is what I can expect. When I go to a Hilton, this is what I expect. I go to a Marriott, this is what I can expect of it. So it's the sum of all the promises you made during all those years about your brand and delivered. The promises that you didn't deliver, they cost you trust. So it's very important to have your promises delivered, because that's what makes your brand. And this should match your DNA. It should be yourself. You can't do it if it doesn't match yourself. You can't build a brand around something that you don't live and breathe every day. So if this is what you're delivering and it resonates with a group of people and the message travels well through time and space, you have a strong brand and you have a business. This is what branding is. Now, for this branding, competence is not enough. They all assume, all our clients assume that we are competent. This is a given. Scarcity is not enough. You can't scare them away by saying, oh, there are only few things available. No, everything is available today, everywhere, always. So what do you have to do? You have to stand out with something. You have to give some added value with something that binds them. You should be in your crowd the better one for this specific thing. Whether you're aiming on luxury, whether you're aiming on quality, which is not the same, whether you're aiming on natural, where you're aiming on non-invasive, where you deal with only the fashionable things, whether you go for a personal touch for your clients, or you go for your own personality, or you go for a group of people like you're LGBT friendly or animal friendly or whatever it is, but be specific, stand out. Don't do what everybody does. And we'll look in a second why it's so important not to do what everybody does. Be consistent. People like to know what they're getting. Standardize the things. We'll go through that in a second. Standing out is very important. You have to be branded. They have to know who you are. Being consistent is what makes the fortune of everybody. And who understood that better than anybody else was John D. Rockefeller, the richest man in the world in his time. And what did he do? At the time where everybody was taking crude oil out of the soil and trying to purify, to make kerosene, to light the homes of the Americans, he sensed that there was a problem. There was a problem of consistency. There was a problem of constant quality and standardization. Some of this kerosene was so flammable that the homes exploded and burned, and others were so thick and unrefined that they got like a plume coming out of it, and people suffocated from the whole smoke that came out of it. So he said it's impossible to live with an inconstant quality, and he built a brand with constant quality that he called Standard Oil. Standard Oil became the standard of kerosene in the homes of the Americans, and it became the only product that was circulating as an oil product, and that's how he dominated the market of oil. And later on, he had the courage to build pipes, etc. So if you standardize, then you have a product, you have a brand, you have something. You don't want to go to a great restaurant that delivers inconstant quality. All of a sudden you say, I'll do my anniversary in this restaurant, and it's shit the same evening. You don't like that. And you can tell your friends, but I was there last week and it was great. No, you don't go there anymore. You want a constant quality. Create added value, which is important. And this added value is something that you bring into your people and you say, okay, now you see that you get more and something that you really want. And we had a problem with the added value when the Lehman Brothers crashed. It was 15th of September 2008. It was a very grim period. And we lived a little bit the period that we have now, but of course without the confinement. But everybody thought that with this crisis and the stock market dropped by 40%, the world is going on. At least the financial world. So people were left there with half of their fortunes away, all their fortunes away. And then we made a meeting the next day, and we thought, how can we solve this problem? Serious problem. And we created the 50-30-30-70 rule. What does it mean? We had to reduce the prices for the packages because people couldn't afford it anymore. Although it was more psychologically than really, but they wanted something they can afford. So we reduced the prices by 50%. We put price lists where the sum was about half of what it was before. And we delivered 30% of what we delivered before. So in fact, we gained on that. Okay, this was our point of view. We cut the price by half, but we delivered 30%. Now the question was, how do we add value with this 30%? So we went to put this 30% of effort on the key elements that made a difference, and which for them was a perception of 70% improvement. I'll show you some few examples. If you go to the main zone where the lesion is located, and you put 30% of your efforts on that main zone, the perception of the patient will be that he got 70% of the results. And that's why he is eager to pay you 50% of the price. So let's look what it does for makeup and pimples. So most pimples can be covered by makeup. You see this girl here, maybe she's at 7, 8 pimples that need to be treated, and she can cover all the rest with makeup. So with 30% less lesions, she has plus 70% satisfaction, which is a great thing for her. You can do the same exercise for everything that you do. Carbon peel. Is a carbon peel necessary for the whole face? Sometimes it's only the nose, or a little bit on the cheeks, left or right from the nose, or between the eyebrows, or just on the chin. So you can limit the treatment and have the result that is a perception of 70% of the problem solved. Take clear skin. Do you have to go with the clear skin for the whole face or just a part of the face? You can go on parts of the face and improve the skin there. The same thing goes for clear lift. By the way, there is a new clear skin, a Pro, which is a black one, 2 times more powerful, but they will explain you about that. The clear lift, same thing. You can go over locations that you say, I want to improve the skin slightly, only there, not the full face, not necessary to go for a full face for that. The same for accent prime. You can go only over the upper lip, which is a main concern for people, goes very quick. Or you can put the settings very low and do quickly the whole face like a light peel and reduce the prices and give them value for their money. Hair removal. In times like now, where your soprano hair removal is sitting there in a corner, which is not good for the device, not to work in these times, so it has to run a little bit, try to build in some packages. Packages of hair-free days, or packages of 5+1, or so that people can benefit from it, or bring in a friend so he can have a test zone, but don't leave it there unused in a corner. Now, what are the basic principles of this 50-30-30-70 rule? Reduce the time to shorter times. Reduce the area to the main concern, or reduce the treatment to the main issue, which is the same thing. Create affordable prices. When I said we reduce the price by half, is not that we put a dash on that and we said, okay, from 500 euros, it goes to 250 now. No, we created a totally new product with a different price. So it wasn't the old product in a discount, but it was a totally new product with a different price. They still could have the old product if they wanted, but it wasn't in fashion anymore. Maximize the satisfaction and the experience by dealing with the main concern essentially. Don't give discounts. Discounts are bad for your business. It reduces the value of what you do, and it's not good. Build a totally new product with a totally new name on a lower price. Give them a free session of a new treatment that you want to introduce after the Corona period. for instance, or a product that you feel that has gotten too little attention till now. Give them a first trial session for some treatments for free so they can sense what it is. Explain them what it does. Now, when you've done all this, there is another thing that is very important to know. And this is your main asset. Building a tribe. People are not the same. Everybody has different concerns. You notice that in your clinic, that you connect with some more than with others. And that what you do, certainly if you're branded and identified and you stand out of the crowd, that it resonates with some people and with other people, it doesn't resonate. So automatically, even unconsciously, you build a kind of tribe around you that understand you, appreciate what you do, etc. So what is a tribe? A tribe is necessary because we don't want the average client. A client that comes in and he says, I don't care which doctor treats me, and I don't care which product it will be, just do it. This is a client that will not be loyal. He will not care specifically about the product that you deliver and the effort that you do, and he will compete you in price and availability. If you're not the cheapest, he will go to someone else. If you're not available today, he'll go to the competition. You don't want that. You want to have your premium clients to connect with you and to stay with you because they believe in what you do and because they resonate with you and they are part of your tribe. So building a tribe is building people around you that will follow you whatever you do because they resonate and your message resonates with them. So what resonates with your tribe? It's a culture. It's a culture. It's a vision. It's a vision of who you are. It's maybe people who belong to your community, to your cultural community, to your religion, to whatever, to your language in your city. My name sounds Iranian. I'm not Iranian, but I get all the Iranian clients coming to me. Are you Iranian, etc.? Your name sounds Iranian. That's a tribe, okay? So we put in the natural medicine, Ayurveda, incorporated in our treatments, and people love that. So people who love nature and who love Ayurveda and who love the soft approach of natural medicine, they are part of the tribe. So create something that is specifically yours and build a tribe around it. It's not a membership. It's not something you say, well, lady or mister, you are a member and after 10 sessions you get a discount. This is not a tribe. A tribe supports you unconditionally whatever you do. And at the end, your problem is to find a product for your tribe and your people and not to find people for your product. And this is where you reached the holy grail of marketing. So you have your crowd, they're standing there, they demand the product, and you only have to find regularly the best product for them because you share their culture. And so you got to stay synced with your tribe or even build it in those days if you don't have it yet. Create a content for your crowd, inform them over the possibilities, give consultations on Zoom, give some advice on skincare. Now, how do you know they are your tribe? When they share your message. If you go on Facebook, you post something, you will get bad remarks. These are not your people. Discard them, forget them, don't pay attention to all those people who put some negativity on your thing. And there are other people who are really a fan, and they like, and those who are your tribe, and they will share you. So you need the shares. You need the people who will talk one to another to create the tribe. So our profession is a very simple profession. We don't need more than 1,000 members in our tribe. 1,000 really loyal members in our tribe. That's all we need. And if we make a little bit the math, with 1,000 members and 6 visits a year for diverse things, from running from Botox injectables, hair removal, lasers, etc., then you got 6,000 visits a year. And when you spread them over 10 months because you want to go on vacation and you take 20 days of 30 visits, you've got 600 visits a month. And at 200 euros a visit, which is approximately okay for all what they do, you got 120 euros a month. But with time, you don't need more members. You just need to make them better members and to give them more services. And you add from 200 euros, you go to 300 euros. And for the same number of members in your tribe, you're earning much more. This is what a tribe is for. Now, how fast can you create a 1,000-member group? This is important. People think it takes years. No. Let's say you start with 110 people you know very well and you share your vision. Okay, you build them up because when you're starting a practice, you're 25, 30. So by then you have maybe 110 people you know very well and who share your vision. Each of them will bring you 3 people, and each of those people will bring you 3 others. So if this takes like 3 months, in 6 months, you build 1,000 people. If you have only 37 who share your vision, you will need 9 months to build them. And if only 12 people who share your vision, within a year, you have your 1,000-member group, which is awesome because you don't need to do anything anymore with time, only to feed them. So what is marketing? Marketing is spreading the word. Spreading the word doesn't mean shouting, doesn't mean talk to everybody. Everybody is not your customer. Average is not your customer. You don't need to shout and to spend a lot of money on talking to millions of people, thousands of people, while your crowd will only be built out of 1,000 people and maybe a little bit around 500 around it. They like you, but are not really your crowd. So we went from intrusion marketing, go and spam everybody. And if they asked you, if they gave you the permission to do that or not, and we understood that people don't have attention time for you. Their attention span for somebody who's not their crowd is nearly 0. Okay, so it's a lot of work to market to people who are not your crowd. Permission marketing are people who connect with you. They are your crowd. And what they're going to do with your message is they're going to spread it amongst their people who share also the same culture and values. So when do you know you're dealing with permission marketing? Do you talk to your crowd? Do you have shares out of what you say? Do they talk to other people? Did they give you the permission to talk? Did they sign in on your newsletter? That's a permission to talk, okay? Or they ask you, what's new, doc? Okay, that's a permission to talk. Do they have the problem that you want to solve or not? Very important. Sometimes you don't have the problem, or they don't have the problem. You don't have the solution. Match them to your crowd. And do they share your posts? Okay, which is very important. Are we coming to the great funnel that everybody says is useful? You connect with your client, you reconnect with your client, you over-connect with your client, you make your client your best friend and you mail them every day, and then you lead them through a funnel from everywhere, from Facebook, from LinkedIn, from Instagram, etc., from your personal mailings. You send them down the funnel to your website where you can get an appointment and buy something. Or do you go to a connection economy where one client will do the work and talk to another client, okay? Now, how do we get access to WhatsApp? One client tells another, he says, you want to connect with me? Put yourself on WhatsApp. How do we connect to Zoom? One says to another, you want to connect with me? Go on Zoom. Whenever you have a product that needs connection with other people, where your product or your service or everything you do will bring connection amongst people, you can build a crowd easier. The easiest way to build a crowd is when people start to connect one with the other, which is very important. Now, when I started my clinic about in 91, we built that crowd of 1,000 people very quickly. In fact, over the years, we built a crowd of 120,000 people. Now, how did I do that? When a patient came to me, I gave him a prescription to get something from the pharmacy. Something very small. €2, €3, a cream, a food supplement, something that could help him, but was totally cheap, like €2, €3 and useful. So he went with a prescription and he drove on his own expense. He waited with his own time. He paid with his own money to a pharmacist who was interested to listen to him because he's a customer. And he read down the prescription, the name of the doctor. He asked who that was. A conversation started between the client and the pharmacist. He bought that thing for €2, €3 and he became an ambassador. He became someone who would connect me through the network. Because in 1991, this is the only marketing tool we had was that. This is a phone of 1991 connected to the wall with an answering machine on it, and that's it. We didn't have more than that. So people had to come by word of mouth, and we had to create people who talk one to each other physically. Now a front desk looks like that. And a practice, a clinic looks like that. It didn't look like that in 91. There were small rooms with an old vision, okay? So now you wonder whether you need that, yes or no. No, you can start much smaller with a crowd of 1,000 people, okay? And build yourself a really nice practice with the recommendations that you'll get now, okay? So we even had a shop, etc. Now, how did it go? In 1991, there was only word of mouth. And then over the time, we built social media. We built a website, all the social media, the Facebook. We made advertisements on Facebook, paid ads, Instagram and paid ads on Instagram, LinkedIn, specific forums, which help, by the way, very interesting forums. YouTube channels, where YouTube channels are, by the way, very good because they build your crowd. People look at YouTube channels and you will see your crowd answer on YouTube channels. Printed media, very interesting, television shows, press parties, book releases, in-depth interviews, and what I like the most, short reviews of in action. You show like 30 seconds of what you do and in action, and people ask, what are you doing? And there is a response coming of that. So after all those years, from 1991 till 2020, what works for us, and with us, I mean our profession. We don't sell shoes like Nikes where we have to reach the whole world. We are working with our two hands and with the staff around us, and basically we are just having our crowd that we can expand a little bit, but that's it. We just have to make a better crowd out of it. Word of mouth, very important, okay, very powerful. Why is the word of mouth very important? Because you tell it to your friends, and we don't have much friends. Although our Facebook page and profile is filled with thousands of people, we count our real friends between 5 to 10 people. They trust us unconditionally. So when you tell them, go to that clinic, go to that doctor, they're excellent, they trust you. Now, imagine you misuse that trust. How many times can you do that? Once in a lifetime, and they remember it. So you don't do that. And they trust you 100% unconditionally because they know that you put the most valuable thing on the plate, which is the trust and the friendship you have. So word of mouth works very good. Creating ambassadors. People who are so in love with what you do, so in sync and in tune with your vision that they become ambassadors for your community, like an ambassador is for his country. Okay, they don't choose ambassadors they don't love and breathe their country. And then you've got your tribe, nourish them with the things that you know that are useful for them and that they need. Okay, DJs, they know how to feed their crowd, they sense their crowd. Maybe we should all learn first to become DJs and then doctors. Okay, they know this is the music in tune with my crowd. He can't put there the Fifth of Beethoven, they will kill him immediately. Okay, so that doesn't work. So be in sync and in tune with your crowd. And now the only problem he has, now this one is that, but The other ones, the only problem they have is how to generate a new product because the crowd is already there. Now, how to scale your clinic. A very important thing, how to scale your clinic. Now, we build a format around it. We build a format around your skin type, which is we go and we examine your skin through a computerized consultation, and it ends up with a code and a treatment plan. Once you have that code and a treatment plan, then everything will follow from that. So it's very easy to scale up. You don't need that for your Botox or your fillers or your ablative lasers, but you will need that for things that you delegate to other people. And that's when scaling comes in account. So if you want to start a beauty parlor, you will need a skin typing, okay? Because your staff will do that. If you want to sell them cosmetics, you will need that so they know that their cosmetics are tailored to your skin type and they'll buy cosmetics. I love that, and I'll tell you why. Once you have a crowd and your patient is coming in, your cosmetics are budgeted anyway. They buy cosmetics anyway. So it's not a new budget. You don't take extra money out of their pocket. They have that already. They just spend it to someone else. And while they are a member of your crowd. So it's a total shame to send them elsewhere if they are already in love with you. So there is a low threshold to buy cosmetics and to talk about it. And even to show on your credit card that you bought them, okay, if it's not your credit card. So this low threshold is easy if you want to bring a friend with you or if you want to come several times. Repeat sales. Your jar is finished, you have to rebuy that, so you get automatic repeat sales, even if you didn't have any new incentive to come there. Your Botox is still working, you're still hairless, etc. There is a repeat sale and there is a visibility. You go out with a nice bag and this jar in your bathroom reminds you every day where you belong and to which crowd you belong. So that's important. Now, the 1,000-member crowd. What does it do with your 1,000-member crowd? Well, you build that crowd. And in essence, this crowd is your biggest asset of your clinic. Because once you have it, you're in business. No matter what you will do, as long as you do it properly and right, and let's say, I would even say all of you do it right, and those who are still learning, well, there are enough workshops and webinars, etc., to learn to do it right. So we go from the presumption that you're all great doctors and great therapists. Now, you have to add to this trust another income. 30 euro income on cosmetics each month is totally normal because they spend 60 euros, of which 30 can be yours and even more. On 1,000 members, it's about 30,000 euros a month, which they spend elsewhere anyway. So this is an additional income. And if you sell it online, it can run during hard times like we're experiencing now. Home devices. Some home devices are better than others. Pick the home device that resonates with your crowd and go for it. Books that relate with what you do. It doesn't even have to be your own book here. This is a book that I wrote with my partner, Isabelle Mercury, but you can bring in other books that you think that are okay in your thing. Lectures that you can give, webinars, and all these kind of things. You can even give consultations over the web, etc., and explain them a lot of things. So you have the possibility to scale your business substantially. Now, if you say, well, I've listened to that lecture of this Karavani guy, but I don't feel that I can do what he does, or all these things, they are far-fetched for me, whatever it is, then go to a very simplified formula. And a super simplified formula is the next thing. Specialize. If you specialize, even if you don't know who your crowd is, by the fact that you specialize, you will create a crowd. If you say, I'm specialized in, let's say, axillary hyperhidrosis, or I'm specialized in hair removal, or I'm specialized in acne and large pores, you will get your crowd. They will not be based on your personality. They will be based on your skills and the fact that you're doing only one thing. So automatically you'll get a crowd. If you do everything, that's the worst thing to do, because that means you won't have a specific crowd and people will trace you based on the price. And if you're sorted by price, you will end up the cheapest and the poorest. That's not the issue. Build trust. What is trust? Be consistent in what you do and what you say. Whatever you do and say, be consistent. What you promise is what you deliver. That is building trust. Not hard to do, even if you're alone. Build a connection that comes from the heart. Something that people can say, okay, he's approachable or she's approachable. I can call her, I can be there, I feel well, I feel connected. Not a very hard thing to do. And be generous, because people want to stay around generous people. They don't want to stay around stingy people. Give a little bit more than what you promised, okay? It won't cost you much. It will build you a clinic and a practice, which is great. And at the end, the 1,000 people that you need, they will be around you, even with a much smaller clinic. So I think that summed it a little bit up. You can ask questions. I think there are people from Alma Lasers who are collecting the questions and can answer them. I hope you got a review of what is possible now, and I think they will even provide you slides or whatever it is, so you can review that, okay? So I'm waiting for your questions to give you some answers. With a webinar, it's a little bit different. We don't sense exactly what's coming from the crowd, but I hope you're all satisfied. Keep safe.
So hi, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you, Dr. Karavani, for the amazing lecture as always. If you can hold on with us for another 15 minutes.
Yes.
Then we would, now everybody's going to write their questions on the chat, and then both him and I would address those questions when I'm finished. So I am Gidon Lev Eli, the social media specialist for Alma, and I'm going to give a short presentation specifically about marketing and social media aspect of what we are dealing with today. So again, thanks to Dr. Karavani, and let's begin. So I don't need this. Okay. So actually, I want to talk a little bit about déjà vu. So this is the second time already that I have to give my presentation following Dr. Karavani. The first time was at the Alma Academy back in September 2019 in Rhodes. And I'm telling you, he's such a great performer that it felt for me going up after him was like diving off a huge cliff into the rocks. So this time it's less intimidating, obviously, because I'm not physically in front of you, but I'll try to do my best. Okay, so I'm talking about the staying power of our social media business profiles today. So staying power obviously is a term from fitness and from other kinds of workouts, and it just means stamina or durability. Okay, and I think we're all right now in a kind of a test of our durability and in our stamina. So here's a quote. I'm gonna bomb you with a few quotes in the beginning. More is lost by indecision than wrong decision. So I think there's a lot we can learn from this these days. This was a quote from Cicero, the Roman statesman. Another nice quote I've read the past few days from a doctor in the US, Dr. Nathan Furr. You are not powerless even when you face uncertainty. And obviously we are facing a lot of uncertainty today. By the way, this is a very funny picture that I got on WhatsApp a couple of days ago. I'll translate from Hebrew. It says, the government started to issue support packages for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So I hope, I guess everybody can relate with that, because it's not so easy for small businesses today. Basically because everybody's being asked to make decisions with incomplete information right now, okay? So a lot of things are not clear. When is this going to end? How is this going to end? How is the market going to look after it ends? That's a lot to deal with. I actually can empathize with everybody here, because I also used to own a small business. I had a recording studio about 12 years ago, or even 15 years ago in Tel Aviv, a musical recording studio. And actually it was so successful that I actually practiced a lot of isolation back then. I used to sit in my studio for days and days and wait for clients to come in. So I know what this is all about. I actually started as a DJ before that. And as a DJ, it's obviously also very difficult for me not to feel the crowd right now. So maybe if everybody can raise their hands and show me they're alive, it will help me. Actually, this feels like a little reunion, because I'm seeing a lot of familiar names here, both from visits that you visit us at Alma in Israel, and also from social media, where I follow most of you guys. And I know that the past few weeks haven't been easy. Let's talk about, everybody's talking about the new normal, the old normal. So my old normal used to look like this, okay? This is actually a meeting, a global training meeting that we had only a month and a half ago at Alma headquarters in Israel. And this is me there speaking with a group of doctors, mostly from Serbia. I think some of them are online with us today. Shout out Dr. Boskovic, and maybe Nenad is here as well. And obviously we can't choose the reality outside of us, and that is out of control, but we can choose how we view this reality. Okay, this is a very powerful thing people learn when they go through coaching sessions and coaching courses, is choosing how to view this reality right now. So my new normal, my reality looks like this these days, because I have 2 daughters, and their favorite thing is just to put makeup on me and try to convince me to put on nail polish, etc. So I'm just trying to look at the reality right now as the opportunity that won't come back of maybe getting to know my daughters a little bit more and being around the house more than usual. So to continue with this mindset, I think it's very important to think about choices that we can still make. Okay, I feel that the more choices we make, the more we will feel in control, the more we will feel better. Okay, the less choices we make in this situation, the more passive we will be, it will just grow our insecurity. So just a few possible choices that you can make during a crisis. This is actually from the financial crisis in 2008, a nice caricature. So we can choose to hide and just stick our heads in the sand and wait for everything to end. We can decide to fight and to really get into it every day and fight for our exposure and for our business to stay alive. We can fight, obviously. We can take advantage of others in situations that are even worse than us, or we can evolve. And hopefully, I'm wishing to all of us that we will use this time to evolve personally, professionally, and ourselves and with our families and society as well. So actually, the term social distancing is very, very confusing, because, in the age of social media, what is social distancing? I mean, we're connected all the time, every day. It's a funny photo we took yesterday from my porch. So this is the view from my porch, just a little doll. So we were told to practice social distancing, but we are not really distant from each other, as the name suggests. So maybe I'll just go into a few practical tips that I can give you. Obviously, nothing has really prepared me in my professional life to this situation. It wasn't like I had like this emergency plan for days of pandemic or days of the world health crisis, and just have to learn on the fly, use common sense, use instincts, use intuition, and to really understand what is, you know, the best way to deal with this situation. Okay, so just a few basic practical tips that everybody is sharing today, and this is courtesy of our Brazilian partner, LBT Lasers, that used Alma devices, the Soprano Titanium and the New Harmony Excel Pro Special Edition, to give their audience, you know, the most common tips of washing hands and using a mask when you go outside, shopping, etc. So this is the first advice, obviously, everybody's giving out. Another very important thing is that for those of you, especially that use sponsored ads and are usually investing, you know, funds into advertising, obviously there are no immediate sales to drive. So it would be best to try to focus on growing the followers number and increasing your engagement, rather than, you know, driving leads and getting future appointments booked. I know this is what we've been focusing on, and I've started to shift parts of our sponsored social media budget into other campaigns than normal campaigns, trying to increase our audience. So, you know, when we get back to normal, hopefully soon, we'll be in a better situation than we were before that in terms of our engagement rates and followers. Be the best version of ourselves. So when I'm talking specifically of social media, I'm just talking about, you know, trying to be reliable, not spreading, you know, over alarming news to other people, not spreading fake news, trying to be reliable and to be a good citizen, being responsive, you know, even though most of you are not at the clinics physically, still, I'm pretty sure there are people that are trying to reach you on social media and on your contact boxes. So try to be as responsive as possible. If you have peers, colleagues, co-workers, etc., that are still active, they can help you perhaps to increase the hours that you are available per day, and just to get the audience the feeling that you're still there, everything's okay. You've not, you know, closed shop totally, and you can get back to normal once this all ends. Transparent, whatever decisions you have to take and make in these days, you know, in the future, try to be transparent on how you communicate them to your followers. Stay positive. Obviously, I think the internet, especially social media, the first few days, it was difficult for many. I know I was afraid to go on Twitter, because every time I'd go in and I'd just see, you know, negative news and panic, it really made me depressed. So I disconnected for a couple of days. But then, you know, the powers of positivity and all of the creative people out there creating a lot of funny content and positive content, and a lot of artists and leaders that started to you know, sound their voice in a positive way, I think really helped me get back and engaged with social media. And I think it's up to each one of you also, as people that have, you know, a certain authority, have a certain expertise, have people looking up to you, to also share that positive voice. and obviously adaptive. We're going to have to learn a lot of new things in this period of time and do things differently, and that's part of the equation. Here's another funny thing that I saw a couple of days ago. Obviously, this is the best version of ourselves right now, most of us. Don't become the punchline of this caricature. So obviously, many of us have email databases, and we all probably received numerous emails and SMSs and WhatsApp messages from brands and companies that are just telling us that they're, you know, with us and for us in this difficult time. But obviously, if it's somebody that you haven't spoken with or really addressed in years, it might be a little bit awkward to approach people right now with this kind of message. So try to limit your message to the audiences that are frequently in communication with you. Another practical tip that I've seen many clinics and probably also some of you adopting the past couple of weeks is going live on social media, especially on Instagram. So like a few days ago, I logged in the evening, and like everybody was live simultaneously. It was just amazing. I think the platform itself almost collapsed with the number of live broadcasts that were being sent out simultaneously. Many of the doctors and the clinics that I followed, I saw that many of them actually used partners and co-hosts for their Instagram lives, because many times they felt that they should bring another type of expert to give value for their audience that is isolated at home, and perhaps another expert that can give them tips for like home care. So some of them brought nutrition experts to discuss with them. Some of them brought hairstylists, makeup artists, fitness experts. And so they did like these joint collaborations. And another very good reason why to collaborate with somebody else on your live broadcast is the influencer content opportunities. So obviously, for those of you who are blessed with thousands or tens of thousands of followers, perhaps you can get a good viewing for your Instagram live. But some of us don't have huge accounts, and I don't have many followers. And so we can use other people who have a bigger audience and to get exposure to our content, to our business, to our practice through their Instagram live. So probably many of you have some kind of micro influencer, local influencer that collaborated with you in the past or got a treatment at your clinic. I don't want to say that you need to take advantage of them today, but I'm pretty sure many of them are probably also in the same situation as all of us, and might take much lower rates for like an Instagram live or some kind of collaboration. And if you have someone that has the audience that is, you know, really within your target audience, and that your content and your expertise can give value to them, then actually having them invite you on their Instagram live would even do better to you than going on live yourself from your profile alone. I hope this point was understood. If you have any questions later, you can ask me about that. Another thing that is an opportunity, I know that for many of you it might be a challenge, especially those that have small children at home that you have to cook for all day long and keep them studying and keep them occupied. But if you do have a little bit time, then you know, if you can maybe give a few time slots and offer a few time slots per day for one-on-one consultations to your loyal clients, or maybe to potential clients that you've been, you know, that were just about to go into your clinic and maybe miss their appointment because of the quarantine. Maybe if you have an opportunity to do like a Zoom chat with them, a Skype call, a WhatsApp video call, whatever, getting to have that intimate time with a potential client or a loyal client would also benefit you greatly now and in the future. So I know many of us are also using this time and trying to speak with our partners, also on one-on-ones, etc. Another thing that was started to trend lately is the whole aspect of vouchers and coupons. Many clinics are offering gift card sales at special rates, coupons to be used in the future, like support the clinic and buy a coupon now for a discount, and you can use it once you can get back to your normal life. You know, maybe some of you might feel, you know, skeptic about this, but I think we should all kind of, you know, trust people's generosity. You know, Dr. Karavani was discussing it earlier in his lecture. I think that especially for those of us who have been generous in the past with our clients and our audience, I think they might surprise you today if you reach out, you know, in a respectful, obviously way, and in a light way, nothing too heavy or dramatic. You might be surprised by the generosity of some people and some of your followers that would pick up that option. It's worth trying, I think. I don't think it would decrease your value or your brand's value. This is pretty much it for the practical advice that I have right now. And again, thank you all for joining us today. Remember to check on all of our channels for our next webinars. Don't forget to follow us on Alma Lasers International on Instagram. We also post all of the future webinars there, and also on our website, mailers, etc. And now I'm going to invite Dr. Karavani to join us again and to answer all of the questions that we'll try to pick up from the chat right now. If Dr. Karavani already spotted something that he wants to answer, then I will let him go first, and I'll try to see if there's any questions for me as well. So thank you.
Hi, hello. Hello, everybody. I see here a lot of questions.
Do you want me to read the questions for you, or do you...
Let's read the relevant questions. Would be nice.
So the first one that I see is someone that asks, when we present ourselves as a specialist of a certain procedure, can it be simple procedure like chemical peeling for acne, or it better be something more high-end?
Well, I prefer, because people don't understand always what a procedure means. They don't understand what chemical peeling means. They want to know what's in it for them, okay? So that's an important thing. So they want to know that you treat acne. That's the first thing. So if you're a specialist in a problem that relates to them, then of course it's very important. Now, once the technique gets known, like Botox or fillers or laser hair removal, then of course they relate to the technique. But in the beginning, they relate to their problem. So look it up if the solution is known enough in your area to connect it to the patient, okay? And if it's not, then of course, if I'm telling the patients, look, I'm a specialist in laser endo liftings, they won't know what it is. But if I tell them, look, we do liftings now without cutting your face, that's something else. Okay, so find a description of what you do as a specialty that relates to them. That's important. And that they know that your activity is confined to that. And what I used to tell the patient, look, I told them, I'm forced to become a specialist. I can't cook an omelet, so this is the only thing I can do. So I'm becoming good at it because I don't do anything else. This is what they trust, yes.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is about the 30-70 theory you were speaking about. And someone is asking, he's saying he's concerned that the patient won't be willing to go for the full procedures next time. So how can we approach that?
Most of our patients never came back to the original procedure, and I'm very glad about it because now our treatment times are much shorter. They're about 15, 20 minutes. We only deal with a problem. They have a very high satisfaction rate, and they paid more than they paid before. So I'm not willing to go to before, and they're not willing to go to before, because it's economically a better situation, and satisfaction-wise, it's a better situation. So why go to before? To spend much more time and collect a little bit more?
Okay.
No need.
Another question is about, we are unable to use our laser hair reduction machine currently. Does it sound decent to roll out offers for the same, which they can use later after the lockdown?
Yes, I will do that, but I won't do it in a discount form. Not to say, look, 100 euros, Stripe, 50 euros. I won't do it that way. I would say, look, packages, a free one, trial sessions, things like that would work, but not a discount. You have to keep in mind that when this whole Corona affair is over, then you still have a business like we discussed it. We have 4 major reasons why our branch will not disappear and will continue, okay? So beware that you don't have to save a business. You just have to be occupied now. Now, the best occupation now, which will give you return on the long term, is to work on your crowd. This is the best occupation now, because you're building your asset. If you build a crowd now, you will have it for later. If this is the only thing that you did in this 3-4 weeks, you're already a winner, because once you're out of the Corona, you have your crowd already. Now you can only bring them the products that they need. You don't need to sell them now. Build a crowd. But if you want to still have an income, yes, make some incentives without making a strict discount.
Okay, so also, first, I see a lot of comments here about the 30-70 theory, which people love, and I agree. There is another question here. One is for Gidon, but before that, there is one for you. Where is it? Which do you think will be the most wanted popular procedure after the lockdown?
Hair removal, I think, yes, definitely. People have postponed it for quite a while. I think that the hairdresser, the barber, and the hair removal will be the first ones to be there after the lockdown, because I imagine that a lot of people wouldn't want to go out to the saunas or contact their lover before they went to this procedure. So yes, that's number one, definitely, because it's an emergency, you understand? It's like washing it. It's really yes.
Gidon, one question for you. Can you give some tips after the quarantine for small businesses and for clinics in general?
Wow.
Yeah, very general question.
Yeah. Well, after we all finish, shock therapy and are not afraid to walk and touch things and hug people and touch our patients and all of that. First of all, hygienic tips. That's the most important thing at all. Hygienic tips. So if you don't have them, start working on getting them right now, because your patients won't agree to get any treatments without them. So I hope it won't be abused, this kind of term, and everything would be called, oh, this is hygienic, this is hygienic. But so obviously this is going to be a very big concern. Just talking about hygiene and how our clinic is the most hygiene, and we are, we have a team of experts, or we got, some kind of a stamp of some kind of, I don't think ISO 9000 or whatever can state that your a hygienic practice might help you. I think in many places we're going to see actually kind of, people trying to compensate, and maybe be a little bit indulgent, those who can afford it, after being quarantined for so long. So we might be seeing like a big boom in, restaurants, or, any kinds of activities that are like, fun. And for those that have like an aesthetic treatment and a beauty treatment is their type of fun, I'm pretty sure that many of them would be actually out there overspending than what they probably should, because they had to, to wait for so long. So those of you who have an opportunity to be competitive and to, try to rise above the competition in terms of people seeing you in front of everybody else, whether it's through sponsored ads or other types of advertisement, go ahead and do that, obviously, because there might be a period of time that everybody would be like jumping into to be the first clinics and businesses that receive that first wave of business in the beginning. Afterwards, probably we'll see this kind of curve, like with a coronavirus spread curve, going down a bit, and we'll need to get back to our routine of creating content and doing all of the hard and dark and work of just being there and getting to new customers, etc. Hope this answers the question. Should I answer another thing if I see?
Yes, please. And also I see that Dr. Karavani is mentioning something about the camera. Would you like to say something about it?
Yes.
It's also a good tip, I think.
What I think is important is, as building your homogeneous crowd is so important, is putting a camera in your waiting room and monitoring if these people interact. Because if you don't have this word of mouth between your patients, so that they can bring in new ones and they can form the crowd, then of course this is a weak thing. Okay, you have to work on it. So you have this waiting room and make it a meeting room for people to build the crowd that resonates with the culture that you're willing to project, yes, or to live. Okay, so put the camera in, make your waiting room nice, and put on your message and see what resonates. Or let the crowd themselves build it organically. Okay, you don't have to force on them something. Sometimes you're getting a crowd that you didn't even expect they existed.
Okay, that's very clear. Gidon, do you see any other things you would like to add or to answer about?
I saw a question from Sana. Maybe it's more for, maybe Dr. Karavani can answer it, because obviously I didn't have to deal with these kinds of patients in the past. So she says, we are unable to use our laser hair reduction machine currently. Hope it's not a soprano. Does it sound decent to roll out offers for the same, which they can use later after lockdown?
Yeah, we answered this one actually.
Oh, you answered it? Yeah. Oh, sorry. So I didn't get it.
Yes, so I'm not seeing any more questions, but if anyone has one or want to click on the raise hand and write down the question, we're still here. Of course, you can also email Gidon later on, write us, as they said, in our social media boxes. And if there are not any questions, I think we are done here.
Yes, I don't think we have to be afraid of this pause of 1 month, even 2 months. We don't have to be afraid of it. But take care of this time and enjoy it and make something out of it to build the foundations of your upcoming clinic. And I believe that restructuration of your clinic is necessary. 2 months is nothing to build a nice crowd and to look over all the things that you propose and to build in this 50, 30, 30, 70 rules somewhere in your treatments. You'll benefit out of it and you'll gain much more in the future than the 2 months of income that you lost.
Maybe just last thing, because I saw this question coming up again. So people are asking about what kind of content to post these days. And obviously this is a very tricky question, because obviously just promoting treatments right now might feel a bit pointless when people can't schedule them. But I think if you do it under the guise of being educational about it, okay, trying to explain what this treatment is for and why is it good or what is that exactly is done here. Just educating your audience now and maybe creating this, you know, like teaching them about it and creating this, you know, craving for this treatment in the future would be helpful. And also it's a time to be a bit personal, you know, especially on your stories, etc. I mean, you don't have to still post everything under, you know, the branding of the clinic or you know, stock photos of models, etc. You can also be daring and share your personal life and to let your audience know you a bit more. It's like an opportunity that probably normally you don't have every day. And this can also help you find your tribe, I think, like Dr. Karavani mentioned before. That's it for me.
Dr. Karavani, thank you. This is Oad. I just wanted to say, to give a short tip to those who are still with us, that since the devices are not in use for so long, I would tell, especially the distributors among us, to try and do preventive maintenance or service to those devices before the quarantine ends, and to those end users to ask for this service. So that's my comment on that.
Good.
Important, yes.
Talking from experience.
Yeah, because I know if it's too long unused, then you know there could be some water leakage or whatever, and there should be some preventive maintenance, because once the quarantine ends, you want to start the clinic as soon as possible and be the first to react. There's going to be a lot of demand.
Right.
Especially if they follow all the tips that they just got from this webinar.
Yes, thank you both. It was very enlightening.
Yes. Okay, so thank you everyone again for joining us.
Our friends from now,
the session. Thank you, Dr. Karavani, and thank you, Gidon.
Bye, see you all soon.
And have a nice day, evening. Goodbye.